said, Dan Korhonen, and I'm the head of product sports betting and also responsible for the sportsbook integrity at the Swedish state-owned lottery Svenska Spel. And I'm here today to talk about match fixing and what betting companies and federations can do to work against it. I also want to pin out the benefit that comes from close work between federations and betting companies. But we start off with a short background. I think everyone knows that match fixing isn't a new thing. Actually, as long as there's been sport, there has been matches fixed. What's not as old is the work against match fixing. At Svenska Spel, we started our journey in the fight against match fixing in the beginning of this century. And a lot of things have changed year after year. And that's why our work will always continue. Broadly, match fixing follows two patterns. The first being lower tier incidents, where individual players or teams see an opportunity to rig a particular outcome of a game and financially back themselves. And then we have the higher level activity where gambling syndicates bribe or threaten players and plays large amount in a business-like structure. These syndicates often involved in other organized crime like trafficking or drugs. The driving force of match fixing is, of course, making money from betting, since it's quite easy compared to other criminal activities. But not all matches that are involved in fixes are connected to betting. We see also that driving force for match fixing can be to stay in a league or to win particular matches, to secure sponsor deals or TV contract. I mean, it's a lot of benefits if you can stay in a higher league. We can move on to who's affected by match fixing. A common mistake is often that match fixing only affects the sport and the betting companies. That's, of course, not true. Well, it's true that some bookmakers doesn't see match fixing as a threat to their business. They think that by just adjusting the price and balancing the book, they won't get hurt. But the fact is that by just adjusting the price and balancing the book, they will get hurt in the long term because they won't have a product if the product sport is fixed. So those affected by match fixing, it's not only customers to sport betting companies who supports the losing side, it's also the sport betting companies themselves, even if they are long-term in their commitment to the business. But that's not it. To the list who's affected, we can add the supporters and the audience of the sport, the players and the clubs, and also sponsors, which pretty much concludes the whole sport. And if we take all of these stakeholders and people surrounding, we can fairly say that match fixing is affected to anyone, to everyone. So what can we, as a sport betting company, do? Well, sport betting companies need to think long-term and put their responsibility in front of their drive to make money. At my company, we always put responsibility and customer protection before profit. This will, of course, affect the business negative in short terms, but in the long term, it's the only way. If sport betting companies are willing to take this responsibility, there should also be accurate in their betting offer and only offer betting on sports and league that is considered professional. At my company, Svenska Spel, we, for example, do not offer betting on number of corners or yellow cards in soccer. And that's for that reason, because it's easy to fix. We have also excluded youth leagues from our offer. This since young players often have a different economic situation and are at a higher risk of being strong-armed into fixing matches. Responsible gaming also includes having relevant betting limits to prevent match fixing and making it hard for the organized crime to make it worth fixing matches. All betting companies should work together with both sport and authorities, and by that, give an insight to the authorities of what indicators is found in the betting industry, and with the sport to share the same information and also to establish what levels that are considered professional enough to offer betting on. Since our opinion is that a sports betting company, you need to be responsible for the product that you offer, we monitor all our betting markets to detect irregularities and also report this information to relevant stakeholders. Betting companies in general also needs to be accurate in their pricing, which is a challenge in your sport, since there's a little history and teams are constantly reconstructing. If the pricing is way off, detecting irregularities is really hard, if not to say impossible. So working close with the sport will, if done right, also imply more accurate pricing. So what can the federations do? The four most important things is information, education, regulations, and cooperations. If we start off with information and education, I think that the sport should inform the players and staff about match fixing and its risks. I would suggest to set up a centralized, anonymous reporting mechanism and reward players for good conduct, since it's just as essential as punishing those with bad conduct. Make your sport aware about the risk and what to do if they come in contact with match fixing. Educate not only players, but the whole entourage around them. This is a really important measure to protect the sport in the long term. All players and staff in each sport should know what to do if they come in contact with someone who wishes to corrupt them. And for regulations, I think that you should set up sport regulations that complies for all professional leagues and tournaments, alongside with an integrity code for all players. For instance, players should not be allowed to bet on leagues or tournaments that they are participants in. This to prevent small fixing within the sports. And finally, cooperation. Work together with betting companies and share information to detect and prevent match fixing. Like with many traditional sports, the spread of match fixing depends on the level of the competition. The further you go from the pro scene, the more susceptible any given match is to match fixing. Determine what leagues and tournaments that are considered professional enough that you feel that it's safe to offer betting on it. These professional levels should be shared with the betting companies, but also with the regulators who have the power to set nation acts when it comes to betting. In the work against match fixing, cooperation with the law enforcement is of course also important. Make sure that you have the channel to inform investigators about findings within the sport. So the key to success. We need to make it hard to fix matches and easy to share suspicions and information regarding match fixing. At my company, we have a well-functioning cooperation with many sports and federations. Every organization knows their own sport the best, and that's why we have our policy that states we offer betting by terms of the sport. Together with the federations or associations, we consider potential risks that comes with offering betting on their sport. We discuss which leagues to offer, if it's okay to offer live betting, and excluding of bet types that are considered easy to manipulate. This is important to protect the sport and its player, but also to offer our customer a safe product. In some of our sponsorships, with sports, we have included financing of specific employees to work against match fixing. The employment responsibility can include education for teams, players, and staff about match fixing and how to prevent it. Alongside with the cooperation with the sports, we also work together with the law enforcement, providing them with our findings of suspicious betting patterns and other intel that we might receive regarding sports integrity. Looking ahead, if fans get the impression that cheating is widespread or their results can't be trusted, match fixing has the potential of negatively impact the popularity of esports. We should all expect that as the market increases, so will the attempts to manipulate it. So from my perspective, and what we have learned from other sports, I think that you should unite the industry and develop a program to deal with situations of betting fraud committed by all participants. Set up regulations that the sport controls and that are applied for all sanctioned matches and tournaments all over the world. I know that the esport wants to be recognized as any other sport, and with dealing with the same problems that other sport, you are one step closer. I hope that I can continue to have a close relationship with the Swedish Esports Association and also with the International Esports Federation. I hope that we together can determine what betting offer I should have on esports. I sincerely hope that the International Esports Federation can unite to set up these recommendations to apply on the international level, which then can be followed on a nation's level. At last, all sports can be infected by match fixing, and while you can take the fight against it alone, you will always have a stronger protection if you unite. Thank you.